Good morning, friends. Myself, Dr. Vijender Singh Tamar, Associate Professor in English. Presently, I have been posted at Government College Gudha in Jhunjhunu district. In the series of video lecture which I am preparing, this lecture is meant for class BA part 3rd, subject English Literature, paper 2nd, and this is question number 1 on the story on which I am preparing the question. The name of the title of the story is My Beloved Charioteer, written by Shashi Deshpande. The topic of this video lecture is the mother and daughter relationship in My Beloved Charioteer. Now let us know something about the author. Shashi Deshpande, still alive, and I fortunately got the opportunity of meeting with her in 2007. She's a very broad-minded lady. She was born in 1938 in Dharwad, Karnataka, in India. She is a very famous writer of South India, and she has also earned a name for herself in women writers of India. She writes in English, and she is a well-known writer nowadays. She is the second daughter of famous Kannada dramatist and writer Sri Ranga. She published her first collection of short stories in 1978 and her first novel, The Dark Holds No Terror, in 1980. She was honored with the Sahitya Academy Award for her novel That Long Silence in 1990, and she was also honored with one of the highest civil honor in India, Padam Shri, in 2009. She writes both short stories and novels about family life and women's concern in middle-class Indian society. The idea is she composes her either stories or novels keeping middle class of India and issues which are related with women. Her work focuses the reader's attention on problems and issues that are immediately recognizable. For example, dysfunctional families, embittered mother-daughter relationship, the ego and the body battering often invisible in marital relationships, the precarious nature of love and the inescapability of duty. These are the issues which were present in the society in the past also, but they were not addressed. Shashi Deshpande addresses these issues. Modern as well as post-modern Indian English short stories written by women writers mark a signal departure from the network of themes like nationalism, cultural conflict between the East and the West, confrontation of tradition and modernity, which frequently inform the pre-independence literary gamut in favor of personal and individualistic themes dealing with the security problems and predicament besetting the lives of women. What I want to say is this, that after independence, the issues which dominated the literary field were nationalism, cultural conflict, that East is best or West is best, modernity, traditional life. These were the themes on which short stories and novels were written. But after 1960, that is postmodern, we can say, in India, a change or a change in the themes was seen, and we notice this quality in the or this property in the works of Shashi Deshpande. The thematic and ideological preoccupation of the modern Indian short story by women reflect the efforts of female mind in India to redefine women in the context of tremendous economic, social, and to some extent intellectual changes which have characterized the development of the last 15 to 20 years. Shashi Deshpande is one such literary voice which is pointedly devoted to the task of unearthing and unbosoming a well-estimated account of deep-seated reality of female psyche and its operation in post-colonial context. There are certain feelings which remained dormant, which never came out. The feelings of women were not given any voice in the literature in the past, but Shashi Deshpande, the voice which were present in the past and which were present in the present were given voice. She does this by an exploration of the myths and stereotypes that they indubitably entail upon women and by showing how entirely fallacious these stereotypes are. That is, Shashi Deshpande tries to bring forth the feelings of women which remained unheard in the past. Simultaneously, she tries to furnish the reader with quintessential women by closely analyzing the women's psychological, emotional, and intellectual needs and aspirations, cravings, and desires, and the conflicts and catastrophes that they inevitably bring in their wake. She said in one of her novels, to make myself in your image was never the goal I sought. These lines from one of the novels of Shashi Deshpande represent the crux of a very crucial and closest of the relationship that of between mother and daughter. The fear, the panic, the suffocation, and the helplessness is all there in the works of Shashi Deshpande. And the thought of one's own self disowning one's own mother is the question to be probed. The mother-daughter relationship has always occupied an important place in Shashi Deshpande's fiction. She has not valorized the image of mother as goddess. Instead, she has rendered more human qualities to her. Means instead of presenting the heroine or the just like goddess without any fault, the women character, she tries to represent them as if they are human beings with all essential weaknesses and strengths. The story My Beloved Charioteer is a study of the relationship of an old lady with her widowed daughter Arti and her granddaughter. The old lady is also a widow. Her daughter Arti is also a widow, and her granddaughter is a very small child. Arti is indifferent to her own daughter Preeti. That is, the granddaughter's name is Preeti. She does not prepare tea or cook meals for her. She is so much engrossed in her personal grief that she does not fulfill her motherly duties. Hence, Preeti does not like to sleep in her mother's room because she either reads or smokes. She does sleep properly. The child, Preeti, is well looked after by her grandmother, while the old lady and the child feel at home in each other companies. The daughter remains a sort of a foreigner. Means there was good relationship between grandmother and Priti, or Priti and grandmother. But as far as relationship of Aarti with her daughter and her mother are concerned, they were not at home. They did not share their feelings. The old lady tries her best to establish a cordial relationship with her daughter in order to shake her out of her stupor caused by the unnatural death of her husband. But the daughter takes refuge in her father's room. Means it is presented by the protagonist, that is Aarti, that she was deeply impressed by the personality of her father, and she started living in her father's room. She did not share her feelings with her mother. This story suggests the strong influence of a dominating father upon a growing daughter. The story My Beloved Charioteer describes the emotional rupture of a widow mother from her widow daughter, Aarti, which exists for inscrutable reasons. Here, the mother constantly remains on qui wave, or vive, it is a Latin word, it means always alert, for an opportunity to please her cross-grained and bitter daughter, whose sense of dissatisfaction with and resultant aversion, dislike to life is canalized towards her docile mother in the form of fury and anger. Means the grand old lady tries to establish good relationship with her daughter, but the daughter always responded in an angrily. She did not want to establish good relationship with her mother. The protagonist epitomizes all the attributes of mother, ranging from her unremitting anxiety for her child's well-being to self-assumed guilt consciousness at her misery. The old lady was not given proper attention or honor. Even then, as an Indian mother, she thinks it is her fault. She says, if my daughter is so empty that she can hate people who are happy, the fault is to some extent mine. Means she thinks that it is she who is responsible for the behavior of her daughter. The dead weight of the mortified love and rebuffed affection keep on assuming ingravescent proportions until one day when the protagonist, peeved by the fact that Arthi still derives strength for living from her selfish father, she indulges in paroxysms of anger, that is, outburst of anger, divulging his crudity and carelessness as a husband, and thus impels her daughter to see her parents as people. The idea is one day the grand old lady finds that now everything is gone beyond the limit of bearance. So she expressed what was hidden in her heart about her husband, that is about the father of Aarti, whom Aarti gave so much respect. And she tells everything about her father to her daughter Aarti. Since the mother is unable to bear isolation from her daughter, she makes an attempt to communicate her grown-up yet immature daughter for by confronting her with the reality of her own situation vis-a-vis her father, the in relationship with his father. She tries to present the real picture or the reality, what kind of relationship was between her father and her mother when he was alive. She tells him, she tells her, he was your father, but what was he of mine? I lived with him for 25 years. I know he didn't like unstringed beans and hated grit in his rice. I know he liked his tea boiling hot and his bathwater lukewarm, and he hated tears. And so, when your baby brothers died, I wept alone and in secret. I combed my hair before he woke up because he did not like to see even with untidy, loosened hair. I scarcely dared to breathe. I was so terrified of disturbing him. The idea is what kind of relationship in reality was between her mother and her father, whom she regarded or considered as an ideal person. That there was not a normal relationship between them. He exploited and he tortured his mother emotionally as well as physically. The disclosing of the oppression she has experienced throughout her life opens her daughter's eyes to the true character of her father, which results in the reconciliation of the daughter with her mother. That is, when Arti came to know about the reality, she realized her mistake. The realization that it is the inescapable feminine destiny to suffer secretly for the sake of material and moral security is brought home to the protagonists in the stories. In fact, the female protagonist in the story redefines the Savitri image. While her husband was alive, she had expressed her desire to sleep alone. Means the relationship between mother and her husband was this, that they have just a physical relationship. They did not have emotional attachment with each other. She know not how I had the courage being instructed by her mother-in-law about her wifely duties. She had come, but she had shown her independence by revealing her desire to own herself. Of course, ultimately she went to him when she said, come here. Means whenever her husband needed her physically, he said, come here, and she used to go and left when he finished after physical is over. She had to go and said, you can go. She knew that she was no better than a slave. When she was alive with in the company of her husband, she felt now that she was no better than a slave. After death, she remembers him not through his plus points, but through his dislikes. To her, he was a tyrant and nothing more. Sasidesh Pandey etches the dark pictures of an incompatible married life that is more a rule than an exception. The point of interest in the story is that despite the sexual and the emotional oppression for 25 years, the mother is not broken like the daughter, who neglects her child and herself after widowhood. The mother constantly remains constructive and overcomes the destructive forces of society. She had inherent strength to fight the vicissitudes of life through silence. Sasidesh Pandey in the story not only stresses upon the darker experience of a woman's life, but also emphasizes the significance of a mother's roles in motivating a daughter to live and rise above the debasing sentimentality. That is, the mother has played a very important role, and she presented herself in such a way that her daughter came out from the depression. Thank you very much.